We're going to be talking about a coffee beer today, and not just any coffee beer, a slightly unusual coffee stout from Alphabet Brewing Company. We've actually looked at some of their stuff before, and there's a card there if you're interested in having a look at some of their other wares. And we're also going to sort of have a bit of a conversation about a rabbit hole that I've fallen arse first down in the last few weeks, and it's about coffee and sort of how my relationship with coffee has changed during lockdown. What makes this unusual? It's a white stout. It actually calls itself a white breakfast stout. It's 7.4% alcohol by volume, and it is called Flat White. I'm a little bit confused about the name against what they've categorized it as. So a flat white, okay, it's a coffee. Sometimes you have coffee with breakfast. White breakfast stout. That's a very unusual name, and I can't quite figure out why it's a breakfast stout specifically. What is a breakfast stout? I don't know. I've been reviewing beers for 3 years. I've been working in pubs for nearly 10. I don't know what that means. It contains milk, which I suppose, okay, flat white, makes sense. Barley, oats, so I mean, it's a distant cousin of porridge. I suppose that's a breakfast food. And I have this little glass here today. I want to say, for hipstery reasons, in reality, I'm behind on the washing up. I could never be the poster boy for coffee because people who drink coffee, they're supposed to be alert, go-getters. I'm a mess. Like, if I walked out of the shower and found that the kitchen sink was on fire, I'd just kind of stare at it and be like, yeah, that seems on brand for me. So as promised, it's a white stout. White stouts they're a bit of a trend, bit of a gimmick, and it is basically something with the flavours or the body of a stout, but it's got the appearance of a pale ale. More malty than anything else, and there is like a faint, not good coffee aroma, but there is like a coffee revel, sort of artificial coffee smell coming off of it, but it's super faint. Do you know what it's like? It's like if you ordered a pint of cask ale, like a pale ale or something like that, and then a mate of yours was like, oh, this will be funny, and they tipped a shot of Kahlua in it. I'm hesitant to say that it's good. It's okay. It doesn't taste like real coffee. The problem with coffee as an ingredient for anything is that it's perishable. It degrades really quickly, so if you're going to put it in something like a beer, there's going to be problems with it. It's not offensive, but I can't see it appealing to any of the audiences that might necessarily pick this up. I don't think it's a particularly good stout. I don't think it's a particularly good white stout. I don't think it tastes of particularly good coffee. The flat white bit is kind of bogus. Like, I can't even really detect the fact that there is any kind of lactose presence in that. Not in terms of the flavour, and not in terms of the mouthfeel either. There should be lots happening in this, and I'm just curious where it all went. I think I'm gonna get myself torn a new one for this because I know a lot of people are fans of this. I'm just wondering if maybe I got a bad one. Because I know a lot of people have been kind of in love with this beer. It's why I picked it up in the first place, because I was excited to see what they'd done with the format. That's a little sad. But anyway, the beer aside, I was going to talk to you about a rabbit hole that I fell down in terms of coffee. Before the lockdown, I drank coffee. I drank a lot of coffee. And how I would drink coffee normally would be I would go to a coffee shop and I would buy their coffee. And I did the math fairly recently. I spent, I won't give an exact figure, but a lot on coffee a month. And when the lockdown hit, I couldn't get to coffee shops readily or easily anymore. There was like 1 or 2 places that were still doing coffee around here, but it wasn't worth the money, to be bluntly honest. So I started making coffee at home, and I started making coffee in a mocha pot. People might know them as a stovetop espresso pot if you've been playing Animal Crossing. It doesn't make espresso. It makes essentially its own style of coffee. It makes mocha pot coffee. I'm in love with mocha pot coffee. I think it's great. And during the lockdown, I've had a lot of time on my hands, as you can probably tell by the fact I've been putting more stuff on YouTube. I've not had much else to do. And I've also been watching some coffee videos, mainly James Hoffmann stuff. He's actually the guy who I watched the video that he did with some other people about how to use a mocha pot, and if you've not seen it, I'll link that up there as well. It's very informative. I have invested in some equipment. How I would make my coffee before is I would get pre-ground stuff because I didn't want to buy a grinder, because I felt like they're all too expensive and all the rest of it. This is one that, it's not the exact one that I got told was good because they don't make it anymore, but it's by the same company and I've used it once and it's fine. For people who sort of like me were kind of like a bit mystified by coffee grinders, it's basically just an overgrown pepper mill, if I'm being frank and blunt. I think less than 30 quid I spent on this. When I was looking up reviews for like coffee grinders, the amount of noise and pernickiness. You put coffee in it, it grinds coffee, it does a fine job, I'm happy with it. Back when I lived in Aberdeen, these were coffee roasters that I lived near, called McBean's. They are not local. It takes some time for them to get to me. I've actually started buying whole beans because of this. And this, I don't know why I bought this, to be honest, other than the coffee community gush about this thing. It's an AeroPress, it's by a company called Arobi, and it's basically just a plunger. Basically, it's a syringe, it's a coffee syringe. This bit comes off, you put a filter in there, you pop it back on, you put your coffee in there, that goes on top, and you plunge. Or you can do it upside down, because some people are lunatics and like burning themselves, I don't know. I mainly bought it, I think, because I quite like the slightly retro, smoky grey aesthetic it has going on, and not because I needed another coffee tool, because I already have one. I've used this. It's fine. Yeah, it's alright. It is really easy to clean up, I think, is the biggest bonus I have going for it. In a pinch, I'd probably say I prefer mocha pot coffee, but this is also fine. Where was I going with this? I didn't really have a plan for this. I think I just wanted to kind of get that off my chest, that I've been geeking out in coffee in a way that I didn't expect that I would, and I don't know if that's coloured my palate to this or not. I would like to think I am not a snob. I weighed my coffee today. I swore to myself I would never do that, and I caught myself doing it, and I'm probably going to start doing it from this point onwards. Did it make much of a difference? I wouldn't have really said so, but I think it's one of those habits now that I can't not get myself into. I just noticed the battery's dying, so I'd better quickly do one of these. I'm going to do brown flavour. I don't know what this is. Roasted tea, apparently. Oh, that's accidentally appropriate. So from coffee to tea. It is baby's diarrhea colour. That's like a browny grey horror colour, and there's like speckles of black in it. Oh, there's a smell. Oh. If anyone ever had the Christmas pudding gel pen in the early 2000s, it smells like that gel pen. This smells completely unique, other than kind of smelling like a pen from 20 years ago. Do I like this? It's like tea and soap and chocolate had a baby. I don't hate it, bizarrely. Oh, we nearly forgot to do a rating. How many soapy Kit Kats out of 5 would I give this? It's a 2.5. It's very middle of the road. It is a beer. It's a perfectly nice beer. You know, you're not going to hand it back. It does not achieve greatness, and the coffee flavour it's there, but it's kind of eh. Comment down below, are you a burgeoning coffee nerd like I am? Again, never thought this would happen to me, but it's happening. Do you take your coffee prep in the morning seriously, or are you kind of like an instant coffee kind of a person? Or do you have one of those like pod machines that are horrifically wasteful? No judgment, but I mean, let's call a spade. Those things, whew, Jesus. Thumb the video if you enjoyed it, and if this is your first time here and you clicked on it because you thought you'd get decent coffee chat and were bitterly disappointed, if you kind of enjoyed that feeling of bitter disappointment in a weird way, subscribe to the channel, because I am that disappointing.